Okay, quick question. If you're 77 years old, filthy rich, living in rural Japan, and your nickname is literally the Don Juan of Kishu, why? Are you marrying a woman young enough to confuse you with her Uber driver? Because this story answers that question in the worst way possible. Old money, young wife, suspicious powder, and a court verdict that made half of Japan scream into a pillow. This is the story of Saki Sudo, a woman with main character energy, a perfect manicure, and timing so bad it deserves its own true crime documentary. Let me be clear right now. This is not a sweet, tragic romance story. This is not a poor, innocent wife story. And this is definitely not a wise, rich man story. This is one of those cases where everyone watching says, okay, I shouldn't assume anything. But come on. And then the court looks at all of us and says, do you have proof though? Before she was a headline, before she was a suspect, before she was that girl on Japanese Twitter, Saki was just a girl from Hokkaido. Cold winters, quiet towns, low excitement. And Saki looked at that life and said, absolutely not. She moves to Tokyo, goes to beauty school, learns hair, nails, aesthetics, and then realizes, wait, men will pay for my existence. Which honestly, and that's not a crime, that's capitalism. She starts doing adult videos under a pseudonym, joins dating clubs, finds older men with younger expectations. Tokyo men thought they were dating. Saki thought she was building a portfolio. And then she meets Kasuke Nozaki, age 77, occupation very rich. Hobby, spending money on women like it's a competitive sport. This man literally wrote a book titled The Don Juan Who Gave 3 Billion Yen to Women. That's not a memoir, that's a warning label. His entire personality was money youth, proving he still mattered. And when he met Saki, he thought he found the ultimate flex, young, beautiful, photogenic, and willing to tolerate him for a monthly fee. Let's call this what it was. This was not romance. This was a subscription service. Nozaki pays her about 1 million yen a month. That's roughly 7,000 to 9,000 US dollars. In exchange, she agrees to be his wife, not partner, not lover. Wife. In court, Saki later testified that during intimacy, she wore gloves. Pause, because that sentence alone tells you this marriage was fake, everyone involved knew it, and no one planned for it to end well. 3 months after the wedding, Nozaki is found unalive in his mansion. Cause of unalive? Acute stimulant intoxication, which is court speak for, sir, why is there meth in your body? This man didn't party, didn't use drugs, didn't hang out with dealers. He drank wine, he wrote books, he complained. So naturally everyone said, okay, what? Police show up, no forced entry, no struggle, no chaos. Just a dead millionaire, a young wife, and a vibe that feels off. People look at Saki like, girl, be serious. And Saki's response is basically, I don't know anything. I was busy being moisturized. She's calm, too calm. Friends later said she acted completely normal, which in true crime is code for that made it worse. Then investigators check her phone, and oh look, searches like stimulant overdose, perfect crime. Now legally speaking, searching something is not a crime, but socially? That's when everyone watching goes, girl! Incognito mode is not a lawyer. Japanese social media explodes. Half the country says she did it. The other half says you can't prove it. And Saki? She's texting friends like, I'm so famous right now, LOL. The body is still warm. She's talking about buying a Ferrari. Or maybe a Lamborghini. Ma'am, this is not the time to be car shopping. 3 years later, 2021, police arrest her. Everyone thinks, okay, this is it. Court case of the decade. The villain arc is complete. Justice incoming, except that's not how this story goes. Here's the problem. Japan's courts don't care about vibes. They care about mechanics. They want how, when, exactly, how much. Exactly how it was delivered, and prosecutors couldn't prove how the drugs enter his body, that she physically administered them, that anyone witnessed it. Suspicion. High. Proof? Missing. So the court says not guilty, not she's innocent, but you didn't prove it. And the entire country collectively says, you're kidding. Because here's the next nightmare. Since she was legally his wife and never convicted, she could be entitled to part of his estate, from suspect to beneficiary, with the same manicure. She walks out of court smiling, looking like she just won a reality show. You think she'd lie low, you think she'd reflect, you think she'd stop dating rich older men. Wrong. She scams another man out of 30 million yen, claiming she needs it to study abroad. Spoiler, she does not study, unless the subject is how to speedrun prison. In 2023, she's convicted. Not for the millionaire, not for the powder, not for the mystery, for fraud. 3.5 years, no champagne, no luxury, no sugar daddies, just prison soap and government slippers. From designer bags to folding laundry, because emotionally, everyone thinks they know what happened. Legally, no one can prove it. And that gap between suspicion and proof is why this story refuses to go away. This wasn't love. This wasn't fate. This was bad priorities, worse decisions, and money doing what money always does, ruining everyone involved. So remember, if a millionaire offers you 1 million yen a month, ask why. If you Google perfect crime, maybe don't. And if you somehow beat one case, stop immediately. I'm your host, and judging from a safe distance, like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Because in this channel, the tea is hot, the takes are hotter, and the wives always expensive.